Welcome to another episode of the Kubik Report podcast. Today is Friday, October 17th, 2025, and we have just returned from the Feast of Tabernacles in Estonia. I would like to give you a quick summary of what we saw and what we did. October 2025 was a special month for us. It marked our first return to Estonia in 14 years. The last time we were there was in 2011 to the island of Saaremaa. Johnny Lambert and I had been working in this region since 1994, but in 2011, when I moved to the home office, I turned over responsibility for Scandinavia, Estonia, and the Baltics to Johnny. When we landed in Tallinn this year, a wave of memories came flooding back. The people we had known, the places we had seen, and the years of shared work and faith. The territory Johnny oversaw expanded far beyond Estonia and the former USSR to include all three Baltic republics and Scandinavia, a vast region with scattered people. Today, James Ginn serves as senior pastor for this area. At the Tallinn airport, we were warmly greeted by Johnny Lambert and his son Bryant. It was wonderful to see them again and to be back in this beautiful city after so long. For all the times I've been to Estonia, most of our time had been spent on Saaremaa rather than Tallinn, so this was like a new experience, yet in familiar settings. Although we expected to feel exhausted after the flight, our excitement took over as we reunited with old friends. Bryant and his wife Linda were there, along with David and Kim Nunn. We quickly made plans to meet for dinner at 6:15 p.m. This was a special reunion. We sat with Johnny and Hazel, true spiritual warriors who have faithfully served in Estonia for 29 years. They have made countless trips and touched innumerable lives. Johnny spoke with his usual clarity and conviction about the foundational truths of the Bible. He observed that many here understood these truths deep down, but not yet ready to fully accept them. God's timing is his own, and his word never returns to him void. The next morning I woke feeling deeply rested. We went downstairs for breakfast, and by happy coincidence found ourselves again with Johnny and Hazel, Tim and Linda Martins, who was the festival coordinator, and Bryant Lambert. Sharing that time together set a warm tone for the days ahead. The brisk Estonian weather was a shock after Indiana's warmth, a sudden 30-degree drop from the mid-80s to the low 50s. Later that day, Bev and our granddaughter Elena and I set out to explore while Alyssa, our other granddaughter, stayed behind for her college studies. A cool drizzle accompanied us as we walked from our hotel right on the edge of Old Town into the historic center. Elena was captivated by the architecture. With her artistic eye, she noticed details in the shapes and designs of the old buildings that many may overlook. She captured stunning photographs of winding streets and ancient churches, seeing Tallinn through a creative lens. Along the way, I encountered a group of Jehovah's Witnesses who spoke Russian and Estonian. Their literature was in multiple languages, including Russian, Estonian, and English, as well as Ukrainian. I struck up a conversation in Russian, explaining that I was in Tallinn for the Feast of Tabernacles to talk about the coming kingdom of God to this earth, a belief that is similar with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Their interest grew when I told them our meetings were just around the corner at the Park Hotel, with about 70 people attending from around the world. I used a Russian term for the great Tsar of the kingdom, familiar biblical concept in the Slavic language, and their eyes lit up. We wandered until Elena spotted a cozy coffee shop tucked down a side street. Inside, most tables were reserved, but the waitress kindly seated us in a small alcove. We lingered there for about an hour and a half, enjoying excellent coffee and conversation. Our waiter was an engaging young man. I asked him to translate a military recruiting poster I'd photographed earlier. It was entirely in Estonian. He laughed and replied, "The government are idiots. If you join the military and become a soldier, you'll die. His bluntness reflected Estonia's unease with its eastern neighbor. As we talked more, he expressed unexpected sympathetic views towards Russia. His father was Russian and his mother half Estonian, half Russian, and his perspective reflected that heritage. He spoke about Estonia's long history as a slave people and credited Russia with bringing culture and literature. His views offered a glimpse into the complex mix of identities and loyalties in this borderland nation. Meanwhile, Bryant Lambert had driven 120 miles south to Tartu to pick up sound equipment for the church services. He passed large groups of soldiers and tanks in training, another reminder of the region's geopolitical tensions. After lunch, we made our way to the heart of Tallinn's Old Town, one of Europe's best-preserved medieval centers. Despite the drizzle, the square was enchanting with beautifully maintained buildings and winding cobblestone streets. Bev noted how beautiful it would be without the rain, but the forecast promised rain every day of the feast. By the time we returned to the hotel, we had walked 3.5 miles, weaving through the city's picturesque alleys. Estonia has clearly prospered since our last visit. New bridges and roads crisscross the city, and traffic is heavy. But with prosperity has come significantly higher prices, about 50% or more higher than in the U.S., by our estimation. Yet beneath the modern development remains aware of its precarious position next to Russia. The Russian bear has long coveted the Baltics to regain strategic access to the Baltic Sea, and its ambitions remain evident alongside its aggression in Ukraine. Tim and Linda Martins coordinated the feast beautifully, with crucial help from Bryant Lambert on sound and logistics. Organizing a feast site overseas is no easy task, but everything came together smoothly. Our base was the Park Radisson Hotel, a comfortable, well-located, and perfect for reconnecting with friends, old and new. A bus tour later in the week gave us a broader view of Tallinn. We passed the Prime Minister's residence and visited the Tallinn Song Festival grounds, where the legendary Laulupidu singing festival is held every 5 years. This event draws 30,000 singers and an audience of 100,000. It is featured prominently in the film The Singing Revolution and remains a stirring symbol of Estonian identity. The ongoing war in Ukraine casts a shadow over everything. I haven't been back to Ukraine in 10 years, but my heart remains tied to the people there. When the war ends, I deeply hope to return, to see friends again and continue the work we began, and still do from here, from the United States. A personal insight of the trip was meeting Sonia King, a musician whose work I've admired for more than a decade. I own all her albums and have listened to them many times over. She came from her home in London, and Bev and I spent a delightful afternoon walking with her through scenic parts of the city and having lunch. As we passed the Russian embassy, we saw rows of powerful protest posters, visceral and emotional, reminding us of the region's underlying tensions. It left me with a profound sense of helplessness and the enduring prayer, "Your kingdom come." Coming back after so many years was deeply moving. Old memories were rekindled, new ones made, and through it all, the sense of God's ongoing work in this part of the world remained strong and clear. We had 2 ladies from Smiltene, Latvia, Antra and Elita, drive up to Tallinn to spend a few days with us. It was enjoyable to catch up with them about their lives and their children. Another interesting event at the feast were the young adult get-togethers with Elder Scott McKeon from Phoenix, Arizona, who is heading up the church's work with that demographic. They discussed a new training tool called What is Your Vision?, which aided in planning for 5 sets of time. The next 10 years, the next 10 months, the next 10 days, the next 10 hours, and the next 10 minutes. Very practical, very useful. I want to express special appreciation to Johnny Lambert for laying such a strong foundation here, including the enormous work. I want to express special appreciation to Johnny and Hazel Lambert for laying such a strong foundation here, including the enormous work of translating literature into Estonian and Russian. The sermons and sermonettes throughout the feast were excellent, thoughtful, original, and rooted in the church's mission. Each speaker brought a unique perspective, and the messages were inspiring and memorable. It was a wonderful time. I wanted to share a few of my thoughts here with you today. Thank you for listening to us today on the Kubik Report. Please feel free to share this podcast with your friends. The Kubik Report can now be found on ucg.radio, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, as well as most places where you get your podcasts, as well as my website, kubik.org. Or simply go to any browser address bar and type in the Kubik Report, and you'll instantly find us. Be sure to spell Kubik, K-U-B-I-K. We would love to hear from you, your impressions, suggestions, and questions. Please write to vic@kubik.org. That's vic@kubik.org. So come back soon for more, and have a great day.